Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Revere School Committee's Committee of the Whole. We will begin with Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of the members.
Mrs. Stacy Rizzo.
Here.
Mr. Michael Ferranti.
Here.
Miss Susan Gravelis.
Here.
Mr. John Kingston.
Here.
Mrs. Aisha Milbury Ellis.
Here.
Miss Carol Ty. Mayor Brian Abrigo.
Here. Okay, we'll start with agenda item number 1, which is the consent calendar. Approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? So moved. Go to warrants. Mr. Ferranti.
I'm on page 2. Just a little clarification on Verco Inc. 4849 for classroom furniture. Which school is that for?
Which line number are you looking at?
For page 2, line 4849, classroom furniture.
Both of those lines are for the Beach Mount School.
Beach. Okay. And 149. I'm getting there. On page 4, there were a couple of, on page 4, number 149, 150, there were checks cut to Haley Bus Company, and they're both regular transportation. One's $161,000, one's $32,000. Are those just two separate invoices, or can you just give a little explanation of that, please?
Sure, so if you look at the purchase order for Healy, you would see one line for that daily chunk of yellow buses doing their work. Then you see the second line for field trips, athletic events, those kind of things. So that second charge was most likely a full payment for those services for that season.
All right, thank
So
you.
that's one is 5 times more than the other.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other members? Mrs. Rizzo?
I'm just looking at line items 63, 127, and 137. Water bottles, fleece jackets, sweatshirts. Are those something that comes out of the individual school accounts?
Can you tell me again what page you're on?
I don't have a page number, 63.
63 is on page 2.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, that would come out of a school budget.
Yeah, so that would have been a purchase made by the principal of the Lincoln School. And I think that those water bottles were distributed once each unit in that school. And with the other line, state, so that. Look at the budget, you'll see a principal's office expenses line. In the non-salary account. One of the things we look at is this type of a purchase, there's specific individuals.
Matt, can you lean into your microphone a little bit, because you're cutting in and out? I think you're too
Oh, yeah,
far from your mic. Okay, thanks.
All right, how's that?
That's much better.
I'll repeat myself, the principals have a non-salary line under their discretion that they'll often use for those kinds of things once a year.
And-
That would be for the fleece jackets and sweatshirts also?
Yeah, I'm scaling down to that. Can you get a line number, the cell number, row number on that?
120, line item 127 for 2,375.
Yes, that would have been the Romney Marsh Academy.
And line number 137 for 2,600 for sweatshirts.
That's the Garfield Middle School.
And those all come out of their own school accounts, right?
In this case, they do. Sometimes there will be donations made specifically for that purpose, but we would see it under 17281. And if you track back, you would not use sweatshirts, for example, at the Garfield for several years. So it's something that they do on a looping basis.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay?
Any other members? Ms. Chai?
Excuse me, I don't know if anyone has already asked about this or not, but on page 15, number 528, there are a few places where it says investigate classrooms. I think it's one at the Lincoln and one at the Beachmont. And I wondered, what were the specifics of that expense? Maybe Carl Swenson might be the one to answer that.
So this is Amoresco.
Yes, they were all Amoresco in there.
Okay? You can see that the amounts are small. So often what happens here is he will bring them in to do an investigation of a specific problem, and they'll charge us at the rate that's in the contract for additional services. And then he'll get their assessment on what we do next. So that line of $2,800 is probably Amoresco spending a day or two working on their quality in the classroom.
My question was it part of a discovery, part of an investigation or an attempt to discover any deficiencies that we have in air quality control?
Okay. We wouldn't know that from looking at this report, but I'll be able to pull PO 2022-5815, and I can send specifics on that to the committee by email.
Thank you.
Often the investigations with Amoresco are more focused on our HVAC system. So it would be if our own HVAC people couldn't find the problem with why something wasn't working right, there might need to be some more extensive construction in order to figure out what the problem is. So that could be what the investigation is.
Well, because we had worked so hard to get the air quality,
Correct,
right
yeah.
up to par, that I was just
But
concerned about
Matt, yeah,
that.
Matt can pull that PO and look
Thank
exactly
you.
what it was.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other members? We'll move on to financial reports. Sure, none.
So then, can I jump in for 1 second?
Yeah, sure, go ahead, Matt.
So just 2 financial notes. There's no reports for in the month of March. So one thing is that you'll be voting to approve the lease of 2 yellow school buses for the next 3 school years. The current lease is expiring in June, and we'll move to those vehicles over the summer. The lease requires the school committee, and those buses help us not have to go out to bid for those runs. So you'll see that vote at the meeting later. And the second thing is that on Friday, we'll be finishing the first version of the budget and starting to work on the scheduling of a Ways and Means Committee meeting to jump into the weeds on that probably next week. We have a conversation with the city tomorrow or Thursday, and we'll be able to get the committee that first draft by the end of the day on Friday.
Okay. There are no food service financials, no communications, no enrollment update. We'll move down to personnel items. Any members? Oh, Mrs. Rizzo.
I noticed there was a resignation in the business office, and wondering if that position was going to be replaced or redirected in a different area?
So that actually should fall under retirement, not resignation. So
Okay.
Robin will correct that, but the person who is currently in that position is going to stay on, and that's the one that's transitioning to the more HR focus.
Thank you.
Any other members? Okay. We'll move on to the acceptance of donations, gifts, or grants. Massport Authority donation.
I'd like to take that off the consent calendar and talk about it at the meeting, just so
Okay.
the community knows that, Massport was generous once again and donated to our schools.
Excellent. All right. We'll move on to the second item on the agenda, which is the second family liaison at the Revere High School.
Sure. May I speak to this?
Dr. Kelly, yeah.
Okay. One of the things that we have found to be a huge success from our days dealing with COVID is the use of family liaisons at each of our schools. They've really done a great job connecting families to the school. And we have found them actually to be quite invaluable. Lorenzo did a great job hiring a bunch of really great parents to act in those roles. And one of the requirements in serving in that role is that the person be a parent of Revere Public School students. Not necessarily at the school where they're the parent liaison, but at least they're invested in and connected to the schools. So that's been hugely successful. And one of the things that we've seen from our experience is that it's a bit of a stretch at the high school where there are over 2,000 students and a lot more families to try to reach out to and connect with. And so reflecting on the information we have from families and from principals on how effective these roles are, we wanted to propose a new position of a second family liaison at Revere High School. And we would hope to find a parent to serve in that capacity who either speaks Portuguese or Arabic to complement our current high school family liaison who speaks Spanish.
Any members have any comments or questions?
Other than great idea, no.
Yeah. Great idea. Excellent.
Just want to add one more thing, if you allow me.
Of course, Dr. Garcia.
I think that's, if there's one structure that we put together lately in our schools, that's really working successful towards supporting our families and students as a parent liaison. They all have been, by the way, all our parent liaisons have received training through UMass Amherst. They all have become certified translators. So it's not just speaking somebody in Purita, but they also have the know-how, the knowledge, the language skills. They have the formal knowledge and the experience and so on and so forth. So it's a great structure, great group of people to work, and Revere High School really deserves an additional one because of the structure and some of the complexities that are there. So we appreciate
Excellent.
it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia.
Yeah.
If I may.
Oh, Ms. Chai, go ahead.
I wondered if we needed more than that. When I think of, we have, how many kids at Revere High School? 2,000? And so this is going to be the second one? I mean, that's a lot of families to interact with. I mean, I think we could perhaps consider that. Maybe the superintendent can do some sort of analysis of whether it would make sense to have someone else to speak the language.
Mrs. Rizzo.
So is this being looked at for the budget for next year and put in place, or are we looking at it ASAP?
It's primarily for next year, but if we can get somebody to start sooner, it would be short money to get us from now until June. It would be, a very short amount of money. And I could talk to Matt and see, as you know, we always have differences from what we budgeted to where we are now, and there could be some funding there that we could use.
So we may be meeting again in a couple of weeks, so maybe if we can get that information and come up with a decision at that point so that we can get the ball started?
Can we move forward with the first one?
Oh,
Okay.
I was talking about the
For the
first one.
second one?
No,
Okay.
I was talking about the first one.
Yeah. Okay.
If I may, Mr.
Oh,
Mayor.
Ms. Chai and then Mr. Kingston.
I was talking about a second one, that I thought that we needed more than, I think two is very small number even for the 2,000 kids. But I also have a question. to Dr. Garcia, if I may. How difficult is it to get this certification? I mean, will it be difficult to find people to fill this position on short notice, say?
For the Spanish, it's not difficult, and for the Arabic, probably not. But the struggle that we be having is finding someone that speaks Portuguese.
Oh.
The Portuguese is even filling some positions with the peak center has been a little bit difficult because it's certainly a challenge. But I think that with the current salary that we're offering, I think it's a little bit more appealing, and the people will apply. I'm sure that we'll find someone that really can work at the high school level with a, we can find a Portuguese speaking with a type of salary. I have some other thoughts, but I have to speak with Dianne first. I'm not gonna,
Mrs. Rizzo, hold on. Mr. Kingston, and then Mrs. Rizzo.
I agree with Ms. Ty. I think with 2,000 students, I think having 2 more people is a great idea. I also think finding someone that speaks Arabic and another language may be a little difficult. So I think trying to hire 2 people, and it takes a while to hire someone, but if we found someone right away, I would hate to wait till, say to them, gee, we'd love to hire you now, but don't need you till August when school comes back, see you later. I don't think, in this job market with the low unemployment, if you can find a person, grab them and we'll figure out how to pay for it. So I really think with the number of people, I know Sandra, the person that does the school here, she does an excellent job, but I know that she's a little, sometimes, I won't say overwhelmed, but just a lot of work to do with so many students. So I think 2 more people would be great. With the number of people in the building, if you think about the other schools having 1 and this school only having 1, the numbers just don't work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kingston. Mrs. Rizzo.
So I guess my original question was about what was on the agenda. So is that person being looked at immediately or for next year?
So we don't have anybody in mind right now. We would need to do a search and post the position and see if we can find somebody. I would prefer to, if we find somebody, bring them on immediately. But if we don't, or if it's, June 2nd, by the time we get through this process, there's no point in bringing them on then. These are school year positions, so our parent liaisons don't work through the summer. So it really would depend on where we fell and how long the process took, But I guess the short answer is, we would love to do it sooner than later.
But of course. So you can get that information for us so that we can make a formal vote in the form of a motion for the next meeting, right?
Yes, and what I can get for you is how much it would cost, what the prorated portion of the salary would be from now until June.
I know,
Small money,
Yeah.
but,
small. Yeah, if you can find
Yeah.
someone.
Yeah, find someone grab them.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rizzo. The only other thing I would add is if in the search there are a few people that are really qualified, that may be something that, it sounds like there's some appetite from the committee that if there were, if there happen to be 2 people that come out of that search, that we may want to look at that. So I'm not out of line in saying that, right?
No, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It's always good to have those searches and,
This, I heard it, hire as many as we can.
Yes, ma'am. We won't say
Okay.
that very often.
Okay, so we'll move on to agenda item number 3, which is a discussion of high school leadership team. Dr. Kelly.
So just briefly, I know that the committee is aware and that the families and students have been notified by Dr. Perella and Ms. Tuckman that they are not going to be returning to the Revere High School leadership team. And we need to have, I think it's an inflection point that we should take advantage of and really discuss fully as a committee, but also with the staff at Revere High School and with families and students about whether this is an opportunity to look at the structure of the administrative team at the high school and whether or not we want to make some deeper changes that would benefit students and families more. So we're just at the beginning stages of thinking this through, but I just wanted to share so that the public had the information that I'll be sending a letter later this week to families and to staff indicating that we are hoping to host a staff forum next week and then parent and student forum the following week. And we think it's important to have those groups separate so that they can freely articulate their thoughts on the situation, and really begin to get some feedback on what people think are the important characteristics and traits of a new leadership team, and other aspects that they think are important for us to consider. And the other thing, and we can talk more about this as a committee, but I'll just plant the seed now that this might even be something that we want to think about contracting with a hiring agency to oversee for us, and mainly because they often have a more national reach than we do. We use School Spring. We know that it's not always effective. We're in a time right now where it's very difficult to find principals. People just don't want the job. And so it's something that we should think about. And so I just wanted to, as information is coming out on that, I just wanted to share that with the community and with the committee.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Any members? Mrs. Rizzo?
Hi. I do agree. It might be wise to go outside, and whatever hiring company could be very helpful. So I think that's a great idea.
Any other members? Okay. Okay, we'll move on to the fourth item on the agenda, which is the missed day for Trooper Bucci's funeral. Dr. Kelly.
Okay, as you know, I was away last week when the city undertook a huge endeavor to honor the fallen state trooper, Tamar Bucci. And that was such a tremendous tribute and wonderful to see. I did watch the news reports about it, but the impact that it had on the school district is that we had to close on the Wednesday that the funeral services were being held. I did reach out to the commissioner and asked if that was a day that could be excused, and I was told that it could not. But the one thing that weighs in our favor is that we actually do 184 student days instead of 180. So although they can't say to us, we won't count that day, don't worry about it, the committee can still make the decision to do that in the view of those 4 extra days that we do. As you know, we also have to count hours. And forgiving that day for all students K through 12 would not put us under the required number of hours. We would still be okay. Where this might have a negative impact is on the idea that we had been working on to pull together some time that we could capture for teachers to do professional development. These hours would detract from that number. But I still think that the fair thing to do for students and families and teachers and administrators and everybody is to not extend the school year by an additional day due to this well-deserved service.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Any members, comments, questions? Ms. Tai?
Just a comment about that. I mean, it really was an honor for the city of Revere, and kudos to you, Mr. Mayor, for making it easy in a god-awful, terrible time. And the school department, making that sacrifice. But I think that's one of the reasons we have these extra days, so that when emergencies come up, that we can use them in whatever way, in whatever service is best for our children, our teachers, our families.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a fine idea. Thank you,
Okay.
Dr. Kelly.
And I want to thank Dr. Kelly for being available by phone during her vacation, because all of that, as you can all imagine, kind of happened pretty quickly, and a lot of great people, especially Revere Police Department, stepped up to the plate and made sure that that was done in a way to honor Trooper Bucci. So I think it's a good idea for us to not count that day against our families and our students. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 5, which is Chamber of Commerce membership.
So another point that I just wanted to bring to the committee, we have done this in the past, but we got a new request to join the Revere Chamber of Commerce as an entity, the public school department. And so with your permission, I would process this. I believe that we would be, I'm not a nonprofit, it would be $300 for the year.
Okay.
We need a
Members,
motion for that?
do we need a motion?
Just, we can do it just for protocol.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty, we'll move on to.
So I'll make a motion to, for the Revere Public Schools to join the Chamber of Commerce.
Second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Stacy Bronson Rizzo,
Yes?
Mrs. Michael Ferrante,
Yes.
Miss Susan Gravellisi,
Yes.
Mr. John Kingston,
Yes.
Mrs. Aisha Lobori Ellis,
Yes.
Miss Carol Ty,
Yes.
Mayor Brian Abreu.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Okay.
Can I just say, I think this is an important time to be part of the chamber, where we're looking at so many students perhaps getting internships, and they'll be able to help us in many ways, so, and also funding a new high school doesn't look too bad either, so.
Yep. Alrighty, we'll move on to item number 6, which is regular meeting agenda items and miscellaneous items. Any members? Mrs. Rizzo.
So I just want to bring up, last meeting, we talked to Dr. Mulligan at Seacoast regarding a great innovation plan for our Seacoast students and staff. We did meet yesterday, Mr. Fearing, Ms. Kelly, Dr. Mulligan, and Sarah Rice Cherry, who basically did a lot of this work for us. So some of the guiding questions on making our decisions come down to, does it align with our district improvement plan? And I honestly believe it, in every sense it does. Is it equitable? It goes without saying. Is it a sound plan for improving student impact? And how will this plan affect the students and educators in the district? Some of the needs of our high school students who need alternative way of learning is so important. They've gone through 25 years of basically something that was not working. So if it was Dr. Mulligan and a group of other people that thought about this and introduced it to us, I am so impressed with the work that they did put in. I will also say that some of the major autonomies is graduation requirements, governance, school calendar and schedule, staffing, and professional development. So I don't know if anyone was aware the last time, but I just want to make it clear, this would be an innovation school under DESE. This is not going to be a typical Lincoln, Wayland, Beachmont type school. This will be an innovation plan. It will also be considered a new school. Paul Revere was a conversion school. This would be a complete new school. And I just wanted to make sure everyone is informed of what's going on. We'll be meeting again tomorrow. And I think it's Thursday, we have to vote on this plan. So I'm hoping if anyone has questions, they can do it now while Diane's here. Don't ask me, ask her.
And I'll just clarify one point there. The vote on Thursday is to proceed with creating the plan. And by DESE guidelines, in order to do that, you need a vote of a representative from the school committee, the superintendent, and the teachers union. And so that's why Stacy and I met with Eric Fearing. We are the 3-member committee that are going to say that we're agreed that we want to proceed with this. I anticipate That's what the vote will be on Thursday. We won't know for sure until we get there. But right now, we're looking at a prospectus. Once we vote this on Thursday, it means that the school team, which is a much larger group of about 12 people, can begin the work of mapping out what will the school year look like, what will the calendar look like, what will the school day look like, what will it be like for teachers. They'll get the specifics. And then one other question that's a little bit up in the air is if ultimately it's going to be a conversion school or a new school. And the important piece there is if it's a conversion school, which is what happened with the Paul Revere when it became an innovation school, it requires a vote of the staff to agree to the innovation plan. If it's a new school, which in my mind, this feels more like, then it's a vote of the school committee that approves the innovation plan. So that's a little bit of the nuance. And of course, what we really want to have is the teachers union and the school committee both in agreement that this is a good plan and a good strategy to move forward. So as we progress, we hope to work with teachers and get to a space where all of us feel like this is the right idea to help the students achieve their best potential. But that's still a little bit up in the air.
Ms. Miller Ellis.
Dr. Kelly, I just have a quick question about that. Does the difference create a difference in funding, whether or not it's a new school or it's a conversion? Are there more funds that are available to us either way, or no?
No, we still have to fund all of this ourselves.
Can I just add also, when I had mentioned we may need another meeting in a couple of weeks, they'll be bringing the full draft to us for consideration. So hopefully we can set up another meeting prior to our regular April meeting so we can get this on the books and moving.
If I may.
Yep, Ms. Ty.
I remembered that she had talked about it being an innovation school, because I remember at the time when she said it was going to be the Innovation STEM Academy of Revere. Right. I had some reservations about the term academy, because that is not always, doesn't always have a good connotation to it. Sometimes people who are maybe a little bit obstreperous are ones who interpret it a different way. But I also would like to see the A in there and have it be a STEAM, because we certainly want kids to be
Ms. Ty,
exposed to
you're
the
absolutely right, and that is what some of the staff had brought up. They want to make sure the A comes into it, and I thought that was fantastic.
Very good.
So,
Thank you.
Excellent. Any other members? Ms. Gravellisi?
Thank you, Mayor Arrigo. I have another miscellaneous question. Dr. Kelly, could you give us an update on the cameras, the additional cameras that we had approved back, I believe it was November, December, and upgrades to the schools that were in disarray to repair?
I can ask for that update from
Thank you.
Jonathan. I know that they had to upgrade the software on my computer today so that I could access the cameras. I'm assuming that is in relation to the new cameras that they were adding, but I'll ask him for a more specific update.
Okay, I've been meaning to ask for a while. I have it put
Yeah.
on the agenda, and I said, let me just ask.
We'll make sure that's on the agenda for next month.
Perfect. There you go.
Any other members? Okay. Seeing no further business before the committee of the whole, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor, all opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.